do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Howdy, folks. How you doing? A very happy Saturday morning to you. Yeah, I know we're not used to doing shows on a Saturday morning, but we're not used to not having Vince on a Friday night either. So feeling a bit left out as I was because nobody turned up last night. The Galactic Larrikins were otherwise employed. Vince had a family thing happening and he couldn't be with us. Anyway, last night's show was a bit interesting, I thought, all the same. Thank you to everybody who's fired off emails that I've received this morning about some of the stuff we talked about. You might find today's show a little interesting. There was so much that I forgot in last night's show that I felt the only way that I could make good is to bring him back up himself and get him to wave live in person. Hello, buddy. How are you?
Hey, mate. How you going? I'm the slave driver. I'm the one he got it. I picked on him when I got home.
You did. And you didn't send me a link for the show, which I did, but we later discovered my email was having a conniption. So,
well, no, let's be fair. It was Microsoft that was having the conniption, not you, not your email.
True, yeah. Rare that Microsoft would have a conniption, really. Shit happens, I guess. That's just the way it is. Last night after the show, I received a phone call from a minorly angry Vincenzo, who suggested that there was a lot of things I may have forgotten to mention. And he'd be right. So we have, in the last week or so, in great part thanks to Vince, got hoodies. So what we didn't do was tell you how you could get them. So Vince, well, I'm going to go and find the pictures. You can tell people what they need to do.
Okay, so we've sort of done a bit of a workout here. What we've got to organise is for the first orders over this next week, we're going to do a free delivery for these hoodies. And we've got quite a list of them, and you'll find them on a link off the front page of Voice of Freedom or VOFHQ.com. Right, there is, maybe Carl can try and find that page while I'm busily chatting away.
I'll bring that up.
So with these hoodies, they're beautiful and warm. I'll say one thing for these. I've had one of these as an Australia One hoodie, and I love it, but I just don't want to wear Australia One out in public for certain reasons. So we've ordered our own with our own branding, and as you can see them coming up here. These are the colours available. Unfortunately, there's not a huge range for women at this stage, but I'm working on that. But
there is a tailored ladies one with a zip.
It's at the bottom of this page here.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yep. So we've got our sizes and bits and pieces.
Yeah.
These will eventually be going onto our merch store where you will be able to purchase them. But at this stage on the first order, I'm just doing it this way. I'm placing that order on Monday. So if anybody wants one, now is the time to get in, because you'll get that order and you'll get free delivery. Upon it hitting the merch store, then there will still be free delivery if you're a member.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not a member, you're going to need to pay delivery. So there's one of the benefits for membership, right? For all those people who've been members for a while, now you're starting to get some of the rewards. All right. So they look beautiful. I like that red one. That red one actually really stands out. It hits. But I've purchased the grey one, so I'm doing the light grey and the dark charcoal one there. So they're my
getting
choices.
an army and a red one.
Yep.
The
right,
green
and
the red.
Cass a black one. So, but a zipped one.
Zipped black one too. So folks, if you'd like to get something warm around you, because trust me, they're going to be warm. It has to be at least as warm as the Cali one I'm wearing, because it is the warmest wind cheater I have. And even Queensland.
We can actually get the ones that look like the Cali. I can actually order those as well, like the same thing. I don't know if they're slightly thicker or not, because while I've seen you a Cali one when I was up in Queensland, I never wore it, so I wouldn't know. But these are warm. I mean,
these do look pretty thick. So
they are.
Yeah, not like buying a Queensland wind cheater. Never buy a wind cheater in Queensland, folks, and particularly if you come from the southern states, because it's made out of paper. That might be an exaggeration, but they're not thin, and fleecy in Queensland means something completely different than it does in Victoria or the southern states. So I want something that is truly fleecy, something that is truly warm for the southern states and for up here when it gets a bit cooler too. Today, beautiful day, blowing a gale. In fact, the bus has been rocking in the last 10 minutes, which is no mean feat considering I've got the legs down. So yeah, it's a chill wind, so hence the wind cheater still today. So if you want a warm one, please come and try these. I think they'll be great, Vince. And we've got other stuff on the way. T-shirts, Cass wants singlets.
Cass wants singlet, yeah.
Summer's on the way.
T-shirts, they'll be coming as well. We're going to do some summer wear. Now that I've sort of arranged that, this link and got this all sorted and working, they will be posted directly from me. I'll be organising pickup from the manufacturer. Now, naturally, the shirts, the shirts, T-shirts, wind cheaters, unfortunately, are not Australian made, but they are of good quality. However, the printing is all done by a fully 100% owned Australian company, so which is great. So we are supporting our environment.
And it's pretty much impossible to get Australian-made shirts or wind cheaters or anything clothing-wise anymore.
Yeah,
it's just not made.
100%.
Yeah, it's all made in China or some other low-wage country, and shipped here to Australia at exorbitant cost. And it's just another example, folks, of why we need to return manufacturing to this country.
We need to return more than just manufacturing.
Well, yeah, that's the truth. But folks, if you'd like to help us along the way, and as Vince said, if you're a member, you'll never pay for postage. But for this order and possibly for the next one, if you get the order in for Monday, Vince is putting this order in, you won't pay postage and handling on the delivery at all. And probably maybe for next Friday too, we might have another order ready to go by end of next week. So we might do the same deal for that then. But after that, it will be members only get free postage. And if you're not a member, then you'll have to pay the postage on top, which is up to you. It's all good. For putting in all this work and doing those great examples that we've put on the screen.
So it actually wasn't all that hard. So we are looking at $70, Carl, just to let you know. It is $70 per unit.
Okay, well, that's pretty much in line with what I've seen with most others. I mean, there's just no way around it. I mean, the things cost what they cost.
They do, yeah. That's the challenge, unfortunately. Like everything else, it's gone up over the last however long, 4.4% of inflation that they just like to hide from us. But you have to ask yourself, 2 years ago when milk was like around about $3 a litre, or $3 for 3 litres if you buy the special one, the cheap one, right? And it's now $4.75. That's a damn sight more than 4.4%.
Yeah.
So, what's 100%. Going on here?
So if you have some suggestions, folks, of things you might like to see in the shop, whether it be a singlet or a cup or a cap holder or sunglasses or whatever the hell you want, let us know. We'll go and see what it takes to get them there. Vince is going to be our merchant man, at least until we can replace him, if he wants to be replaced. But,
or I fall over.
Or he falls over.
Two things.
Thank you, mate, for putting in everything that you're doing there. I should just
shoot over to the comments
and have a look. Peter Grace is saying, what? Look up Rembrandt ties in South Australia. Mad mates of his. There you go.
Oh, really? Hey, maybe we could do a VOF HQ tie. Now, there's an idea. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
I like
bad.
that. I like
don't
that.
mind that
Occasionally,
idea.
I'll wear a tie if I want to impress somebody or strangle them, one of the two. Oh, did I say that out
Vince,
loud?
all vests and
Sorry.
hoods with 2 pockets and a pocket for your phone would be awesome. I could not agree more. Particularly as
The
our
beauty
phones.
about the beauty about these hoodies, right, is they're using kangaroo pockets. So when you put your phone in them, they don't fall out. Right, they're a really high pocket, so you can carry your phone in there very, very comfortably. So that's one of the beauty about. That's one of the reasons why I went for that. There is another version that's available where you can actually get a section on your arm here, a zip section.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we might look at those as well. Now,
Sunflower
any of
snake
these
stubby
comments or questions? Yeah, stubby. Did you say stubby holder?
Yeah. Stubble holder is what Sunflower wants.
Well,
I don't know if
Sunflower.
that's a comment. I don't know if that's a comment on Rick's beard or anything else for that matter. But yeah, a stubby holder might be worth a look. God love you, Sunflower.
Yeah. Well, she probably wants to win one of those as well, seeing she just won herself a hoodie in the competition the other night while you were being delayed. So, congratulations again, Sunflower. I've got the information, and that will be going in on this week's order. So, well done.
Yeah, congratulations.
Now, please send comments through to merch, MERCH, at bofhq.com. That would be great.
Beautiful. Hookster, congratulations. That's all I'm going to say. Sunflower has an idea. EMF protection. I guess that'd be a wire suit we'd have to get you. A flexible Faraday cage.
You'd have to walk around with it on the outside. I don't think you could do it on the inside.
No, it'd be very difficult. Inserting the wire wouldn't be any fun at all.
So what other news do you have that's really interesting, Carl?
I have a little bit of news. Okay, folks, deagle.com, DEAGEL.com is a military information website. Deagle has been around for, well, I've been aware of Deagle for at least 2 years. However, it seems to have changed greatly in the last 2 years. If I bring you up the page that you'll see if you go to that website I've just given you, deagle.com, that is essentially some of the news that you will see here, all about military orders. It's a very military-centric information resource. There are many different resources that Deagle have been known for. One of them has been their raw data collection and analysis in trends in countries around the world, not just in some countries, in all countries around the world. Now, they did release something a little while ago that may have escaped a lot of people's attention, and now I can't find it at all on the deagle.com website. It's a very difficult website to search. If you go and have a bit of a look, you'll see what I mean. However, I did go back and have a bit of a look into the archives, and I was this, which is what I was originally trying to find.
Yeah, now that raises a question. Why is this information now missing?
Now, let's just start at the top. The United Kingdom. Population in 2017, 63.3 million people. Population 2025, 14.5 million people. A drop of 77.1%. 77.1%. 72.4% of the Icelandic population will be dropped from a bit over 4.5 million in 2017 to just under 1.5 million 2025. These projections weren't put out last week. These projections were put out a couple of years ago. Australia, in case, say if you're looking down there, here is Australia. Population at the time just under or just over 23 million in 2017. We're currently at 26 million. they're projecting the end of 2025 that we'll have a population of 15.1, nearly 0.2 million people. We're going to lose 11 million people, 34.6% drop. Now, if you'd like to go and have a look at this website yourself, I'll post it up into the chat now, and you can go through this yourself and ask the questions that you probably would be looking at. Why is our population dropping so drastically in 2025? Why?
Well, would this have anything to do with the reasonably recent preparedness plan by Bill Gates and the SEERS 2025 virus that they're pretending is going to be done in their simulation? Is that a possible link?
I think that is a highly probable link, if I'm honest, and not the only link. The bird flu thing is a bit of a concern, I think, for most people. They've killed over 13 million chickens in Australia so far, folks.
Yeah, but no seagulls, no quails, no sparrows, no anything else. Come on. It only affects chickens and cows that genealogy that far apart, by gene. It'll do a chicken and a cow. But
have you seen your local council out shooting magpies, folks?
What?
Well, that's what we'd expect of our council to protect us from the avian flu, wouldn't it? The bird flu?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're a bird.
Shoot our magpies.
You can't do that in South Australia. You'll get jailed for that.
Oh, no, you can't do it anywhere in Australia. They're a protected species, but they're a bird.
They are.
And
that's what they're saying with the sparrow.
If memory serves, weren't the first chicken farms in Victoria shut down because a bird flew into the coop? Chickens don't fly. It wasn't a chicken that was free roaming somewhere and flew into the coop. So that contamination, how does a coop of 3,000 birds on a farm, 20 k's from anywhere, get infected by a bird from the natural environment? Why are they only killing chickens? Why are they stopping egg production?
Well,
it's because egg helps you.
Eggs are supposed to be good for you, right? Because they are very good for helping in certain cholesterol conditions, which is the exact opposite of what we've been told. But when you get a heart condition, you start researching this stuff. So it's most interesting. There's so much other news. We've only got about 100 days left now before the wonderful election in the US, which will have a direct effect on us. Or is there going to be an election?
Well,
yeah, that's a call. That's a hard call, And let's be fair. If Biden wins this, mate, that pantomime has just gone so far to the other side. Now you'd have to just literally go, really?
You would be considering it, something pretty stupid going on there.
It wouldn't be 2,000 mules anymore. It would be like 150 million mules.
Yeah, exactly what it'll take. So you also have to assume that Space Force and associated other government entities will be watching very, very closely. And it seems at the moment, Space Force is hiring.
Oh, beauty. Can I join?
Yes. I mean, you could be like the voter bug and you could volunteer, or you could be like Pascal Najadi and volunteer, or you can actually go to ingersolllockwood.com and apply if you'd so desire. Space Force is hiring. Can I just point out to you folks, ingersolllockwood.com is an amazing resource. There is a lot of information available here. And there is a lot of secret and hidden information available through this website. Part of the journey to finding it is your growth experience. I'm not going to sit here and give you a list of what to push and where to push it. It's taken me months to find certain things. And part of the journey is what you find in those months while you're looking. All right? Because you learn so much along the way.
Just a hint in case some of you guys aren't catching on. Watch what your mouse pointer does as you're waving around the page. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. Yes. Move your mouse very slowly over the whole page. Don't just go to images on the page. Move your mouse very slowly, pixel by pixel, if you must. What you might find. But there is some very interesting stuff. So I've posted the Ingersoll Lockwood link up in the chats as well, if you're looking to get some interesting reading. And look, Space Force is just part one. We can show you a whole heap of things, but I would suggest that you do yourself a little bit of a knowledge download and go to the history tab and have a look through there. Time traveler, mystery man, futurist. Who was Ingersoll Lockwood? Look into that. Look at what they invest in. Look at their management. Look at what they do with their profits. Ingersoll Lockwood is an interesting group. You can have a look at the insights and the access and what they're looking to fund in future terms. I personally enjoy the library. There are many wonderful books here worth reading. But can I tell you, Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey is very definitely one you should be clicking on and having a read of. All right? There is some truly amazing stories. And if you've ever heard of Project Looking Glass, this is the kind of thing that will interest you a great deal. So,
well, speaking of projects and projects like Looking Glass, etc., we should also do a bit of a shout out to Project Matilda, our Australian-owned company for live streaming and bits and pieces, because they've got a nice little system now. Whenever we go live, it automatically appears in their Telegram chat.
Oh,
so shout out to Project Matilda.
Thank you, Daniel. And well, I think Daniel's probably still the only person working at Project Matilda. If you haven't joined Project Matilda yet, make sure you go and check it out. ProjectMatilda.com. Think of it as Facebook, but Australian-owned, Australian-made, run by a bloke who came up with the whole thing himself and has built it himself, along with a little bit of help from a bald-headed.
No, he just took all my code away and then went and redid it himself anyway, mate. So it's all him. He's done
very
it,
good.
Right. So and it's a really good site for going and looking at videos. There's not so much the Facebook page now, but the video side. You'll find Stop the Rots on there. Lots of other interesting videos that are there. So very worthwhile.
He has a really great news collector. Like an automatic news collector as well. So I wish to God we had that. We'd be running that on the Voice of Freedom site. It goes and grabs all the stories. Yeah, we might have a chat. It goes and grabs all the news stories that mainstream media refuse to tell you about, and collates them just in one area. You click on them, it's just like going and viewing a library of them. But it's very, very useful, and it all happens, behind the scenes. So we might have a little chat with Daniel. But yes, folks, if you haven't gone and joined Project Matilda, please do. Facebook, I think, is dead. I mean, I very rarely interact on Facebook these days. I only post things up there for a bit of fun sometimes. And I have been doing a bit of flat earth posting there recently, amongst other things. So
you and your flat earth.
Well, look, if people really want to embarrass me, send me to Antarctica with the final experiment in December. I will be suitably embarrassed. But
at least you'd be man enough to admit it, mate. I mean, not many people can admit that they got the Bible wrong and still come back on the next day. So well done on that.
Oh, well, if you're going to go screwing things up, the Bible's probably not the thing you want to go screwing up.
No.
And I should explain, because one of the problems with doing what I do is that I don't write out everything I do. And most times I have a plan of what I'm going to say or the order of what I'm going to say. I don't script anything, but I have an idea of progression to progression from story to story. Sometimes that doesn't happen because it's just too late, or I haven't had time to, really sit down and figure it out. So that was a bit of the case yesterday, for instance. So last night's show was a bit all over the place with information not necessarily grouped together as in themes or that kind of thing. So I've been doing that for a little while. So we've got to try and become a little bit better at sticking to the script, so to speak. And I say script in inverted terms because you have these brain farts while you're talking. I had no intention of mentioning Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah, or the finger bones that they found. None of that. It hadn't even entered my mind to talk about them, much less try and tell the story of how Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah were linked. So, yes.
It's great. It's just bad. Lovely to see you get embarrassed. I mean, it gives all us people on the other side here hope, right? There's hope for us, at least. Sunflower said, how much would it actually cost for that Antarctic trip? Did he actually mention?
Well, he has a price from America. I can find out what the cost is from Australia because Len is going and he's already paid for the trip. From here, he told me he's got to fly from here to Santiago in Chile, and then from Santiago they go down to Argentina where they board the boat. I beg your pardon, they don't board a boat, they fly. And then they fly in a 737 down to Antarctica where they're staying 5 nights, 6 days, and then back to, well, I guess you do the reverse, don't you? Back to Argentina, and then from Argentina, Chile, back to Sydney or Perth. Hang on. I think it goes the way the world travels because it's a globe.
So
you fly Sydney, Chile, but when you come back, you come via Perth.
Well, I can
explain that.
All right. Sometimes things just amaze me the way they work, but yeah, never mind. It is what it is. Well, I should find out. You never know. Maybe some beneficial person out there who's not looking at the cryptocurrency at the moment because it's going flat. Although I did hear from one of my sources I've looked at that they reckon it might drop down to 48 thou for a little while. So that'll be interesting. Might be the start of the stock market crash.
Right. No, well, look, as far as I'm aware, the price for Americans to be going from America is around 28,000 US. So I don't know. I will try and find out from Len because it would be interesting. There might be some other Australians who can afford to go and would like to go and be part one way or the other. I just think it's an immensely interesting experiment to be a part of. And I've stated numerous times, I don't care whether the world's flat or round. I care why they would tell us a lie about it if it is flat. That will intrigue me. There'll be a lot more questions. I guess if you're going down to Antarctica, we have to draw a line under this question. And we want to agree and make sure 100%. And I think that those that are a lot more deep to the flat Earth, global Earth position than I am, have decided that Antarctica, if the sun stays up 24 hours a day, the world is a globe. If it dips below the horizon, the world is flat. I think that is the agreed
well, if you follow the flat Earth map, that's exactly what would happen. So if it does, even though it won't be directly above, but it will circle. But even still, if it stays daylight for all that period of time, then that puts it to rest, doesn't it?
Well, it's not if it stays daylight, because you can remember, or you can see every night when the sun dips below the horizon, it's still light outside, right? There is still.
There's that little bit of an interruption from the
Well,
trees.
Sorry.
I was just filling in the gap while you were coming back online.
One more time.
I said I was just filling in the gap while you were coming back online for the little interruption from the trees.
Yeah, so well, the trees must be swaying in this wind. I think that's what the problem is. I think there is still sunlight once the sun has dipped below the horizon. So the actual,
but they're actually going to physically look at the sun, though. They're going to watch the actual sun. So if the sun never dips below the horizon, that answers the question.
And my only question there is, therefore, is what is the definition of the horizon, and what is the definition of dipping below it? And I would say any portion of the disk, if you can see any portion of the disk above the horizon, it has not gone below it. If you can see any portion, if you can't see any portion of the sun's disk, but there's still the light coming over the horizon, if you like, then I'd have to say the other way.
Yeah.
What happens if there is just a thin sliver of sun on the horizon? Will that end the argument? Will it mean that 5 days in Antarctica isn't enough? You've actually got to go down for the whole summer and measure 3 months. Because I think...
sorry, I was just reading something from Pete about MDX. Not even sure what MDX1 is. I'd have to go look that up. So I couldn't tell you, mate. But if you're making a significant profit from where you bought it, I would probably take some. So that was just part of that. And that reminds me too, there's a really good newsletter popped out from Ainsley too, which is worth, got a few links in it that are worth watching. So Ainsley Bullion, I managed, when I bought some bullion from them, I actually signed up to their newsletter, and I get a couple of them per day. And the last one was actually really good with lots of interesting little links to it. So for people, if you haven't bought from Ainsley, and don't forget to make sure that you say that you're buying from them from Voice of Freedom or from Carl or VOF, so you get that discount. But grab their newsletter, because they are really good at keeping you in touch with what's happening in the financial markets at the moment.
I'm madly trying to send myself an email from a picture that I took off a video that was playing in their foyer. If you go into Ainsley Brisbane, I don't know about Melbourne. I don't know if they've got I don't think they do have. Oh, it probably is playing in the foyer somewhere, but I didn't see it. But in Brisbane particularly, they have a video while you're in the waiting room that is very interesting. Paul from Ainsley and a lot of the Ainsley crew put that together, and it is an exceptional tool for learning and predicting what the market is doing. It also has a huge amount of historical data, and that is what particularly caught my eye while I was in there the other day. Now, I don't, me and numbers, Vince, my eyes tend to roll up into my head, and, I start shaking and quivering and doing stupid things. There was a graph that they showed that was a very, very graphic indication of what I'm just going to save this photo down. I had it on my phone and hadn't saved it anywhere. Make sure I save it so I can suck it into this system and show it to you. It'll make it a lot easier to talk about it.
While you're doing that, I'll just suggest, Pete, if you can make back the money you invested initially, anything you're playing with from that point on is just pure profit. So, not financial advice, but if it was me and it's 100% up, mate, I would take out my original and keep the rest there as plaything. Oh, here we go. Oh, liquidity map for central bank. Right.
So listed on the left-hand side, not that you can see them, is about 90 central banks around the world. This is the World Central Bank Liquidity Heat Map. Now, this, as you can see, extends 2022 to 2024, let's call it. And have a look at all that red. what does that red mean? Now, this is from almost the beginning of 2022. There's certainly a bit before that in 2021 as well. But have a look at the liquidity that has been pulled out of world markets. That means the money, the actual money, has been pulled out of central banks between 2022 and now.
So that the red is the amount that's being pulled out. That's the amount of movement. Is that what you're saying, Carl?
Yes. So that red indicates money the central banks have been taking out of the markets. Therefore, they're taking liquidity from the market. Why would they do that? They're doing that to prop themselves up.
You think with the amount of interest that we get charged on things, like, man, what are they doing? Snorting it?
Yeah,
it's like, good grief.
Well, I find that map. Hang on. Let me just bring that up again. Look at it this way. If there is a Q movement, if the central banks are being brought down around the world, if economies are to crash around the world, liquidity in those markets has to disappear.
So my guess is they're buying gold.
A lot of them have done exactly that, particularly China. But yeah, they're pulling all that pretend money out. So that sort of fits with the narrative, the Q narrative, the narrative of bringing the world's economy down. As far as I'm aware, I am not a financial advisor. I am about as far from anything like that as you could possibly imagine. And my financial analysis skills, I would say, are probably on the same par. However,
that's why we have Cass.
That's why we have Cass. And I was listening.
And there's that break in the transmission again. We'll just wait for a minute. China is on the silver now. Let's alone gold. Yeah. So when Carl comes back, whenever that may be, while he's still offline,
still come back.
He's back. Carry on.
Bloody hell. So it just goes to show how much money the central banks have been pulling out of the system. Bear in mind, they're usually pulling the money out of us. And they have been. But why are they pulling from both sides? Why are they sucking us dry and now having to go into the markets and grab that liquidity and pull it back? And it happens to be right within that time frame that, I mean, the crypto market, the QSI folks talk about this. So
yeah, well, I'm not a big QSI follower because, you know my opinions on that. But some of the information they give is relevant.
I'm still waiting for a victim. I'm still waiting for a victim. Somebody come and tell me that QSI took my money. Show me how. All right, I'm waiting for a victim. There is not one to be found, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a good reason in the long con, mate. There's a good reason. I mean, it doesn't eventuate until after the reset happens. But we haven't had the reset yet, so you're never going to prove it. Right? It's like so many other things. All right? You just have to play it out. I mean, there is no such problem with a certain jibbity jab that was safe and effective, and we know for a fact that it's safe and effective, right? And there is no victims until there are, and lots of them. But, right, it took a few months or years for people to start waking up to that.
Yeah.
There were those who saw it early, and there are those who still can't see it at all. And God love them. They're there. But
looks like we've started a hell of a conversation about crypto dealing.
I know. I made the mistake of opening my mouth. I'm sorry about
that. China is big into silver too. Yes, I did hear that the other day too, that they are buying significant amounts of silver. Why? Because you need silver in your solar panels.
Well, not just your solar panels. Every single board they make, every single circuit they make, All right, it's going to have copper and silver in it. So
Brett raises a good point. Germany, like Australia, uses migrants to prop up the economy. 43% of those migrants are on welfare. I bet it's the same here. I bet you're bloody right about that too, mate.
Yeah. Actually, I saw a really good comment about that, Carl.
Yep.
If migrants are over here to prop up our country, right, to make our country more profitable, why the hell isn't it happening in the country they came from?
And we're not importing. We're not, like, let's use India as an example. We're getting the wealthiest or the wealthier Indians coming our way, who can afford to pay their way into the country, pay their Medicare levy up front, and probably buy a house. So they're the folks who are being able to walk in and do all this up front. How come they can't? Well, probably because the standard living of India is so much lower than that in Australia. Education, all that other sort of stuff. But family is very big to Indians. You know, family is everything. So
my future son-in-law is Indian. So
yeah,
right.
And they're terribly hardworking people. Don't
100%.
Yeah,
and she's telling me about when they visited over there in India and how it all works. It's such a different environment. I'd almost love to go and just meet them. Very, very friendly people over there, apparently, especially if you're a blonde white woman, because you get lots of attention, because that's what my daughter is. So
well, some of the other things that happen to women in India on buses, walking down the street, all that kind of thing. There have been
you better not go that way. We might get taken off for graphical content.
I'd just be very aware of my situation. But you've got to be you've got to be aware of where you are everywhere these days, because our streets are not safe like they used to be. In fact, I was only having this conversation this morning with Cass. We had a cup of coffee in at Canungra before she went to the gym, and I went and bought a can of Coke. And she and I had this just exactly that conversation, that it's very difficult to balance that particular thing. So we're going to have to try and push a bit harder on that, I suppose. We've all got to be a bit more understanding, but our government also needs to stop working against the people of Australia. They need to stop. They need to stop importing people of other countries to try and support their budget, their figures. We need to draw a line on all of that now. We need to start spending money and encouraging manufacturing again in this country at all levels. We should be making our own cars. We should be making our own
electricity. I was having an argument with the lady who said I hadn't paid my bill. And I asked her what country she was calling from. She refused to answer. Hang on a minute. Why?
Yeah.
And she was pushing so hard because it was overdue. I'm guessing that this is just a supposition. I'm guessing that if I had paid the $800 odd that she wanted me to pay that day, she would have got a cut of it.
Yeah, right.
Seemed to be the way she was pushing that hard. So, but anyway, I agree with Sunflower.
I'm looking at the quality of the chat in here. There's a lot of crypto interest.
It's not doing much at the moment. Crypto's just doing a sideways shift. It's
but there's a lot of conversation. It makes me think that Saturday mornings might be a time for the Vince crypto show.
And you reckon? I don't. Right, that means I have to be out of bed in the morning.
It'll give you a reason to be awake on a Saturday. It'll give you a reason to be awake on a Saturday.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I don't know. We could.
Didn't you say you wanted to be a radio announcer?
People are interested. Sorry.
Didn't you say you wanted to be a radio announcer?
No, I said I used to be a disco DJ a long time ago.
There you go.
All right. Well, but then I can't read, Carl. You know that.
But you don't have to read.
I can just.
All you have to do is paraphrase.
Right. Okay.
And Pete's into it too, and Brett. Maybe we get the three of you in.
Oh, we could have a bit of a chat about generally what's happening and where we're at.
I can invite Jane from QSI as well. That'll be cover
Oh,
all
how
bases.
is Jane? Have you heard from her for a while?
I haven't spoken in a couple of weeks, I suppose. They're madly trying to fix up a car. Jane's daughter, Izzy, has her L plates now. And and has decided that she's going to fix up a car. And the goal is to have it ready for the QSI Christmas party, which is happening on the Gold Coast in November from memory. And the plan is the whole family will be driving up with Izzy at the wheel. Look out.
Well, that's why I was a little slow coming home last night, was because my son was driving home. He's had his L's for 3 years. Right. And the reason why is because basically he lives in Adelaide. The only time he gets to drive is when I go pick him up and bring him back home for his holidays. But it does raise the point, all right, that and this comes to do with your driving the other day that you were talking about. There's two things to do with four-wheel drive, for instance. One of the things I said when in the chat was I learned how to drive a car by bush bashing, going out there, learning how to handle slides and bits and pieces like that. Right. And that has saved me so many times. Right. That's something they don't teach people with driving. I think they should actually have, as part of a driving course, that you go out on a skid pan and you learn how to handle a car in a slide. Right. But the other part is that the massive cost now for somebody on a learner's permit to go and get lessons enough so that they can pass the test to drive. Right. And most of these people don't have jobs and can't afford $90 an hour. Yeah. Is there something in this? Is there a ulterior motive in all of this? You have to ask that question. I mean, I can drive pretty well, and I never had to do lessons. Not paid ones, anyway.
No, I never had paid lessons, but I'm not even sure when I got my license that there were paid lessons available. It was just, the adult in the family who was allowed to take you to learn to drive, took you to learn to drive. My mother did the day I got my L plates and I went around a roundabout. She shit herself and never came for a drive with me ever again.
I've been driving with you, Carl. I agree with her sentiment.
Well, no, I am a frustrated race car driver. What can I say? But Mum didn't like the idea of. Well, it was because she was confusing. It wasn't anything I did. She got confused. But the old man and I did a fair bit of driving around, and when Laura, like your son, Laura didn't get her license. I think she was 28 before she got her license, and she was of an age where, how you've got to do the 100 hours and all that sort of thing. It was 100 hours back then. Well, because she was mature and had held her L's for so long, she didn't actually have to do the 100 hours. But I didn't tell her that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and as it turned,
there's that little gap in the thing. Yeah, there's a few in there talking marbles, carbon green, uptake, Beauty Pete. And they should learn to off-road driving.
Yeah,
they definitely need that. Yeah, sorry, you're back, Carl. Carry on.
She passed on her first attempt, and the driving instructor said to her, commended her on her driving, in fact, and how good she was, and asked who'd taught her, and she said, "Oh, that was my dad." And so I figured I'd done a pretty good job then. And touch wood, she's still doing a good job. So. It's a very important skill if you're going to let your kids out on the roads. You got to make sure they know what they're doing, and hopefully, they're all going to go and do stupid things at times. You just got to hope and pray it doesn't kill them. The government is going to fix that for us, though, as you were alluding, Vince, because we're all going to be living within, a 10-minute walk of a transport hub in our 15-minute city, and that transport hub will be a train or a tram. You won't be allowed to have a car. You won't want one because you won't be able to park it anywhere. and the places that you could park it will have huge costs associated with them, including
not only
the charging of your little electric that you plug in.
That was the expensive part, the charging of the car, not buying the car, but the charging the damn thing.
Yeah. There are so many people, and it's interesting that the UK energy minister, the new UK energy minister, Ed Millman or something like that, was on one of their morning TV shows during the week, extolling the virtues of electric cars and how we must embrace it. It is the future, the way forward. And by 2030 in the UK, they will not be selling petrol or diesel engined vehicles. And the interviewer said, "Oh, Minister, what electric vehicle do you own?" And he said, "Oh, I don't own one yet. Haven't bought one yet. We looked at getting one just before COVID, and then, all that happened, and now we're back in it again. So you don't have one?" No. And they wouldn't let it go. They kept bringing it. Oh, he said, "I've got an electric bike." Great. But he wants all of us to get an electric car.
Well, they're already ULEZing it over there anyway. I mean, there's a channel that I watch of a guy who just likes fixing stuff for the hell of it on YouTube. And, and when he comes in and says, "Oh, look, he was fixing a Rolls Royce at the time." And he said, "I don't come down as often as I should because it costs me $12.50 in ULEZ fees every time I go past to my dad's." It's like, what? And you can understand why they're running around England with hacksaw blades and grinders chopping these things down. So, if you want to look at what's going to happen in this country, look there first, because there's already an example. But
I wonder how many kids these days, just going back to the driving thing, I wonder how many kids these days on properties have a bush basher. If you were a townie, you always had a mate on a farm who had an old ute or something that you drove around the farm on. And, like you say, learned how to slide, learned how to drive, how to get a rolled car occasionally. Which is
12 years. I was 12 years old when I learned how to drive on a farm.
I started driving the tractor by myself when I was 6. So my grandfather
slow moving. You can still roll a tractor, but it's slow moving.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't reach the pedals in the ute until I was about 10. So, the grandfather, the story of he'd walked all the way across this paddock. We'd been out feeding the cows, and I was always on the carryall feeding out, sort of thing, or allowed to steer the tractor, and he was feeding out. But he'd pulled the tractor up, stopped it, and saw a bloke on the other side of the field and decided to walk over to talk to him. And my grandfather was very elderly even then, in his 80s. And I was a little boy, and he started walking back, and I thought, "Oh, that's a long way for Papa to walk back." So I'd seen him start it, so I started it. I had to stand on the clutch to drop the pedal down into the point where you could, pull it out and actually start the key. But then got off it, and off we went. And, he used to tell the story before he died that it was the most shocking thing he'd ever seen, me driving the tractor across.
Yeah, and there's a break. You gotta love it. It's we'll get him to finish that story when he comes back. I'll bring him up to date to where he was at, and just him driving across the paddock. So you got to finish that story. You were him driving across because you dropped out.
Yeah, so I was driving across and pulled up in front of him, and he was horrified that because I was standing on the clutch to pull it up. Once again, got it out of gear, and it just sort of rolled to a stop. "I'm here for you, Papa. Don't worry, you don't have to walk." He was horrified. Pete's got a Pajero for his kids, and they bash around in that. Bloody great idea, and you get very, very good drivers out of it. Years ago, I'm not sure that it's probably still there in Victoria, just north of Shepparton, on the outskirts of Shepparton, there was DECA, the Driver Education Centre. Now, that was a bloody magnificent facility to go to. Queensland had one as well. In fact, they had a couple. The Mount Cotton Driving Centre was one of them, now owned by the RACQ. It's the RACQ Mobility Centre these days. And then, of course, Norwell, the facility that the Morrises own there at Norwell. You can go out and get on a really big skid pan, and they actually have a turntable which is, I want to say it's probably a 15-meter turntable that turns at a relatively slow rate. You drive the car onto it at 60 kilometers an hour, and as you drive across, it changes the car's aspect. Yeah. So it throws you sideways off the other side of it as you drive off. That'll teach you how to control a car that's sliding, that is out of control very, very quickly. And they're not expensive courses to do, a couple of $300, their whole day. I've done, in my time, I think the first defensive driving course I ever did would have been in Shepparton. And it wasn't at Decca, it was actually at Winton at the racetrack. And in those days, I owned a 253 engined HX Premier. HX. Bloody magnificent beast. And I never got that car over 60 kilometers an hour for the first 3/4 of the day, and never had it under control when I was meant to. And that day I learned the difference between real tires and retread tires, because I had retreads on that thing. And in the wet, under emergency braking, there was just no control, nothing. So finished that on the weekend, booked it in for new tires on the Monday, because they were bloody awful. Went back 3 weeks later with my new Jacaros on there. And a whole different ball game. It was much easier to do. But I did that defensive driving course 3 or 4 times, not because I failed it, just because I really enjoyed doing it. And then I did a performance driving course and an offensive driving course. And I've done a lot of driving courses, reverse spins, all sorts of security driving, all sorts of stuff. Not because I've ever done any security driving, I haven't, but I just wanted to learn how to throw a stretch
limo in a full reverse,
into a reverse spin. That was the whole reason I did it. I wanted to fling a stretch backwards, spin it around, and keep going. And believe it or not, none of the people that I worked for that owned the stretches were going to let me practice it with theirs. So.
Well, mate, we've been going for probably nearly an hour now, so it might be an idea that we sign off for today.
I think you might be right.
Once again, shout out to Ainsley Bullion, shout out to Project Matilda, and a definite big shout out to our hoodies. All right, so
yes,
ordering our hoodies. All right. Also, please, if you're not a normal member, go and visit our Voice of Freedom HQ YouTube channel and our FBN Media Online YouTube channel.
I'll be putting a new story up there on FBN today, a little later this afternoon. If you are remotely interested in psychics, I'm having a chat with 2 of them. Well, I had the chat. I've got to edit a little bit, and I'll post that up a little later on today. And if you happen to be in the Southeast Queensland corner and this kind of thing interests you, those 2 particular ladies are doing a haunted hotel evening in Boona at the Australia Hotel, coming 27th of July from memory. There are still a few tickets available for that. There is also a night with Sarah, who is one of the psychics, the night before at the Boona Cultural Centre. Tickets available through the Boona Cultural Centre website for that one. So I can tell you that Sarah, I've always been pretty skeptical about psychics and all that sort of thing. I think we've spoken numerous times about it. During this interview process, I'm not sure how much of it is actually on tape, so I'll leave it all in there if it's there. But I've got a sneaking suspicion a lot of what happened to me personally happened after we'd turned the camera off. So I'll tell you about that if it's not actually recorded, but I'll leave that story until the whole thing goes up. So I'll be editing that this afternoon and posting it on the FBN YouTube channel a little later on today.
Yeah, and I've got one that's from the website. I've got one that's coming up from a organisation that started down in Murray Bridge that's looking after families, kids and critters and beds and bits and pieces, which I've got to edit up and put a bit in. So that'll be landing up there as well. Probably not today because I'll edit it and then send it off to the people for approval first.
Yeah,
but
beautiful.
That's a good little story. They make, I think, something like 56 different types of milkshakes. So,
yeah.
I still haven't got a
if you happen
picture
to
of
be
them
driving
yet.
through Murray Bridge, folks, it might be worthy of a stop. And they make some pretty cool pet beds as well.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's just a place where people can go, a good volunteer. It's something they started, and they've got big plans for it. Goes well, and I think it's something worth promoting. So we made a bit of a deal.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll let you go back and enjoy your Saturday, folks. We've gone an hour, so that's probably 30 minutes more than I thought we were going to go, Vince. We've done all right.
When when us two get together and we start gas bagging, that's the end of it.
Yes, that is yes, quite right. All right. Well, thank you for your involvement today. Love your work.
Hang on.
And we'll see you next
There's
time.
the way. Goodbye.
There's the way. Goodbye, mate. And to you folks, have yourself a great Saturday. I hope you don't go out and work too hard today. And if it's sunny where you are, get out and enjoy the warmth. If it's a little bit rainy, not to worry. And hopefully, if you are listening to this, you're on the road or you're gathered in Mansfield for the big rally happening today, the Save Our Forests rally in Mansfield in Victoria, getting underway in about 25 minutes' time. 1 o'clock in the Botanical Gardens in Mansfield. If you're anywhere around the area and you can get there, please go along and support that. The Victorian government and other governments around this country are locking us out of our forests, locking us out of our land, all in the name of some bullshit that was going to end up with you living in the city. Do not accept this. Your support at rallies like this, then we're lost, because it is one increment at a time they will take things, and eventually they'll get around to taking something from you that you really like. We don't want that, because by the time they get around to you, they will have taken everything else off everybody else, and there'll be nobody left to support you. So, folks, get out and support these folks today if you can, at any time. Look at last night's show. There is a petition there that you can sign as well. And you don't have to be Victorian to sign it. Doesn't matter what state you are in. If you're into four-wheel driving, boating, camping, fishing, if you are going into the regional towns and cities of this country, every time you spend $1, make sure you let that business know that the government is trying to shut them down, trying to stop you and others moving around, spending money in those places. What happens if that happens? Those places will shut down. Those people will be moved out of those little towns and straight into 15-minute cities, which is what the government wants. This is what they are engineering. Do not let it happen. Go out and support the folks who like to drive a four-wheel drive in the bush, even if you don't, because they will be the ones that come and support you in whatever little endeavor you like doing, even though they don't. We need to support each other in everything. We need to come together. Without it, we're lost. Enjoy your day, folks. Stay away from the dickheads out there on the road. That should have played then, but it didn't. I'll try again.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!